we are EGOU. Sorry. We are EGOU. Basically stands for the Event Guide for Oakland University. My name is LaBelle.
I'm Kristafer Nicaj.
Emerson.
So basically how we're going to do the presentation is we'll give you just kind of a brief overview of the features that it has, and then we'll show you a video of the demo at the very end. So to start off with, the purpose. When I originally discovered that I was going to be doing the senior project, I really wanted to kind of do something that would give back to the university, just because I've had so many amazing experiences here, and I just wanted to think of something that would actually be able to help the university and just kind of help future students. So, and I volunteer for a lot of freshman orientations, and the biggest thing that they just absolutely grill into your mind is get involved. You need to get involved, you need to go to all these events, you need to join an organization, do something. So, and it's hard for freshmen to actually figure out what it is that they want to get involved in. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of finding the right events that seem interesting to you. But a lot of it too is you don't even know where the events are. So, I mean, you don't know how to get around campus. I mean, I only found out that this building was here about a week ago. So, and then we wanted to solve a lot of those goals and just make it easier for students to kind of get more involved in the university and just improve their overall college experience.
Yeah, this is our design. We decided to go with the Android because it's native to Java's native to the platform, and they teach Java here, prerequisite, so it made sense for all going with it. iPhone was another choice that we looked at briefly, but that's Objective-C, and we're not as familiar with that language. We have version 2.3.3 as our baseline. Later we'll get to some roadblocks we had with ice cream sandwich. Yeah, that's our baseline for 2.3. Our web service is like OU Parkland. If you could throw your diagram up here, that'd be great. That's basically it, except instead of Ruby on Rails, we use PHP. And we have a RESTful service, so we connect to the database through Android, and we get a nice little JSON string back that we parse out and manipulate Android.
Okay, now the application is meant to create events. What are events? Events, they're single events, they're group events. A group event, for example, orientation, you go from one building to one building. This app is supposed to help you get through all these buildings. There are also single events. For instance, I remember getting an email one time of a OU event, is a OU basketball tailgate party. That's the only way I knew about that event, was through an email. You know, it's a BYOB party. So I remember that. Also, we want to allow students to get involved in creating their own events. How many here knows how to get an official OU event started today? That's a student, without word of mouth. You do? One? Anyone else? Yeah. Not many. With this app, it's easy to use, and it'll get people more involved. Now the thing is that we don't only want this app just restricted to students and faculty members. We want anyone that's not a part of the school, as far as being a student or faculty member, or judges here, to be able to view these events and use them. So to view them, how can we allow people that are not account members to this app view these events? We are going to allow anyone that can download this application to view the events prior to the login. So you're allowed to view the events, but you can't modify or create your own event. Same time, to view the events, you could view them in a list view, or you could click the map view and you could see the event on the map. You know, and that's where you can find the directions to get where you got to get.
Okay, this is just a simple example of how to create an event. Basically, like Chris mentioned, only people who are registered can create an event. In order to create an event, you just simply select a name for the event, start date, expiration date, and a location. And what that does after you submit it, it sends it to the database, and then creates a push pin on our map of the event, which has a nice little tooltip that tells you about the event. And then that'll send the display back to the user when they select to view an event.
One more thing to add, before we get too involved, is there's kind of 3 tiers of users. There's the administrator who can create, delete, edit events, but they can also manage other user accounts. Then there's the regular approved user where they can only create events or delete events, something like that. And then you just have anybody who can view all of the events. So we wanted to add these 3 tiers to add a layer of security. So we don't want, college senior just generating all these Friday night parties and saying, yeah, everybody come. We wanted to make it like OU official. So we wanted means to regulate it, I suppose.
Also with events, and Chris kind of touched on that too, you can create some of the single events or sub-events for a single event. So like a single event might be a basketball game, but a larger event like the new student orientation would have sub-events to it. So we have just a simple option to select whether you want to create a sub-event for another event and so on. We also give everybody the option to modify, or the people who registered to modify their events. And only creators of those events can modify their own events. So you can't, like, I couldn't go on and try to modify one of Chris's events. And it's pretty simple. You just edit the information.
Yes, more of some stuff. We have a secure login where only creators can modify events. So we have we set up so only certain users are open to view can register. Our version control issues were ice cream sandwich was a problem for connecting to our database. We had to run it on a separate thread, but also throw an exception. So that was one of our big hurdles. Getting the database, because that just drives everything. It drives the overlays, it drives the routing, it drives events in general. And then we just have the backups, cron jobs on our database.
And we'll go right to the demo. Okay, so when you first load up, you see the little open logo. And from here, if you're not a registered user, you can just go to the view events and you'll see a list. But if you actually have a login, you can log in. So, for example, through this app, I set up an account for Jake. And Jake, you are not an administrator. You're only an approved user. So once he logs in, you'll be able to see, okay, create, edit, delete, but you won't be able to manage other user accounts. And then this is also error checked to make sure that the username and password are valid and everything, and it gives you options to go back. So as you can see, he doesn't have the capability to manage other users' accounts. But if you're me, and you log in under my account, you'll see that you'll be able to manage a lot of the other user accounts. So it just adds another layer of security, I suppose. So the passwords are very secure, +1, +3. Yeah.
That's hard for you.
Yeah. So and then on the bottom you can see that I have the option to manage accounts. So let's say we go to create an event. So we'll start creating an isolated event. So let's do the spring graduation. Why not? It's not like I'm counting down or anything.
2 weeks, is it?
Well, 17 days, something like that.
14 days.
So you type in the event name, and then we use the takers to add or to format the date and time, just to kind of make sure if you try to do it as a regular string, it throws a lot of errors. So April 28th at 9 a.m. One of the other things is the event expiration. You don't want to view like all sorts of previous events. So if the current date is past the expiration, you won't be able to modify, you won't be able to see it. So, but it still exists in the database if you need to refer to it later. Then the locations are also hard-coded in our database with latitude and longitude locations to be able to go back and forth with Google Maps. So graduation is at Meadowbrook, and you hit submit, and then it'll add it into the database. And then you can return to the main menu where you can actually edit it. So let's say I want to, the spring graduation is kind of a generic name. Let's say I want to do spring 2012 graduation. So you simply type it in. So spring, it's close enough. You can hit search, and then it'll pull up the one event. So you select it, and then you can change the event name. And you can also change the date and time information as well, but it just doesn't go through it in this demo. So if I just go through, change the name, and hit save, then the next step will be you'll be able to view it. And for viewing events, you can do the single events, so like the graduation, or you can view the multiple events like you can for freshman orientation. So you type in search to spring graduation. You can view the event on the map where it's literally just a logo. You can click on the logo. So in this instance, I know where Meadowbrook is, so I can just drag over. But one of the later options you'll see in a minute is it actually routes it for you based on where you're at. So it helps you figure out where the locations are. So here I'm dragging it over, and you'll be able to see the OU logo. And once you click on the OU logo, it displays all of the event information. So it shows the place first, spring 2012 graduation, date, time. So you can go back, and let's say I didn't know where Meadowbrook was. I mean, I feel like a lot of people actually don't know where Meadowbrook is. So we can go through Google Maps, and so we're in Poly Hall right now. So it'll take it from here, take you to Meadowbrook. We had a couple of options with the routing. We originally hard-coded it to be walking, just because Oakland is a smaller campus. So, I mean, a bigger picture would be to do if you're off campus and get to all these places. But it shows you step by step along the sidewalks how to get to this location. So. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a hike.
Get a bike, guys. Get a bike.
Yeah, OU bike share.
Yeah.
So, and then it just steps through, lets you go through to where you want to be, and then it'll eventually get there. Yeah, I guess that's normal. Yeah. Get your workout for the day, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, would this app would have been useful for anyone today? Did everybody know how to get here? Yesterday, I found out where this building was. Never had a class here.
So, and then as you can see, it ends up at the Meadowbrook Pavilion. So, and then you can go back, and then, so one of the other things that we wanted to go into was viewing the group events. So I already created freshman orientation. I didn't want to go through an ad just because it's sitting through here. So for here, you would select freshman orientation, and then you'll be able to see all of the sub-events that go with it. Now that's kind of a niftier thing because like for iPhone, the calendar, you can create events, but you can't really see related events. So here you actually see all of the related events, and you click on each of the logos, and you can see all of the information associated with freshman orientation. So, and then, yeah, and then you'll be able to route to each individual event. So, and then when you go back, so let's say for freshman orientation, the tours aren't really important. These freshmen can figure out how to get around themselves. They have this app now. So you can actually go ahead, delete the tours event. So it confirms it, you can go back, and then when you go back into view events, you'll see that it's no longer there and it won't show up on the map anymore.
Not there.
So, and when you go to view the event on the map, you only see the previous two. So, and that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Do you care credentials that we log in with? We log in.
We have to log in.
Yeah. Right now, we have to log in.
Are you storing any location where information is back on the server in place, or is everything back?
Yes, it's all based on GPS coordinates. We have a schema for that. It's just the 2 coordinates, and then we can manipulate the name however we want. And in fact, that's the basis of the location, so it can be anywhere.
As far as storing the other information, one of the options we, for Android, most of the time we use SQLite. We found that it mostly stores it specific to the phone, and that would really help us when you're trying to create events for local users. So we used a GoDaddy database, and we just refresh it every time. Pretty much every time you switch screens, we refresh it, so you get the most out of the most updated information. Yeah.
Another thing, I know we tried to squeeze this in this application, but because of time constraints, we couldn't. What we wanted to do is every event you go to, there's almost flyers handed out, for example. One of these. We wanted to have to where you're at every event, and if there's an event that has flyers, we want to be able to, when you digitally upload the PDF file on the app and use that and view it on your mobile phone instead of carrying paper.
Or even provide a link to the website as well.
Exactly.
Do you work with the university at all to get the requirements? Or?
No.
Just all basically.
Well, it was pretty much, I went to a conference in Portland, and they had, it was somewhat different, but it was where the idea kind of generated, so, and I mean, so we just kind of, I don't know, took off from there.
All right, thank you very much.